Today we're diving into a true crime case that's not just chilling, but truly mind-blowing. I'm talking about the dating game killer, a story so wild you wouldn't believe it, except it really happened. And if you think you've heard it all, wait until you hear about the new Netflix movie, Woman of the Hour, directed by none other than Anna Kendrick. It's set to hit Netflix on October 18th, and trust me, you're going to want to add this to your watch list. So let's dig into the twisted true story behind the film and how a charming bachelor on a dating show turned out to be a monstrous killer. Sounds unbelievable, right? Let's get into it. Okay, let's take it back to 1978. The game show The Dating Game was all the rage. Contestants would ask flirty, playful questions to anonymous bachelors or bachelorettes trying to score a dream date. The show was a hit. Celebrities like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Farrah Fawcett, and even Tom Selleck graced its stage. But none of those appearances would be remembered like the one featuring Bachelor number 1, Rodney Alcala. Yep, the same Rodney Alcala who, by the time of his appearance, had a terrifying criminal record. I'm talking assault, child molestation, rape, and murder. And yet, there he was, smiling on TV like he was just your average bachelor looking for love. Can you imagine that? Right there, in front of everyone, on prime time. And here's the thing, no one had a clue. Not the audience, not the other contestants, not even the producers. Alcala had this charming, almost too friendly vibe. But one woman saw right through him, and that was Cheryl Bradshaw, the bachelorette that day. Lucky for her, her instincts were spot on because, after the show wrapped, she refused to go on the date with him. Can you believe that? She said he seemed very strange. And folks, let me tell you, strange is putting it lightly. This guy was pure evil. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because Rodney Alcala wasn't just strange. He was a full-fledged serial killer, and his story goes way beyond what happened on the dating game. Let's rewind for a second. Alcala, born Rodrigo Jacques Alcala Bucor in 1943, was already a known predator by the time he appeared on the show. In 1968, he committed his first known crime, and it's horrifying. He lured an 8-year-old girl named Tali Shapiro into his car. He assaulted her, and she barely survived. Barely. Thankfully, someone saw what was happening and called the police, but Alcala fled before they could arrest him. He escaped to New York, changed his name, and started over. Can you even imagine the fear this man instilled in his victims? In New York, he tried to lay low, but this guy couldn't help himself. He studied under Roman Polanski at New and, get this, worked at an office with another notorious killer, Richard Cottingham, aka the Torso Killer. Talk about terrifying workplace vibes, right? Eventually, the FBI caught wind of Alcala's new identity and he was sent back to California. But here's where things get messed up. Tali Shapiro's family had moved out of the country, so they couldn't testify, and instead of being charged with attempted murder, Alcala was only sentenced for child molestation. And even then, he served just 17 months. 17 months for nearly killing a child. It's infuriating. And it didn't stop there. Once he was released, Alcala went right back to his old ways. He started working as a photographer, using his camera to lure in women and young girls, promising them modeling gigs. Some of those women would never be seen again. Between 1977 and 1979, Alcala is believed to have killed at least 6 women and girls, the youngest being just 12 years old. Her name was Robin Samso, and her disappearance was what finally led to Alcala's arrest. Her friends identified him as the man who had approached her, and during a search of Alcala's storage locker, they found a pair of earrings belonging to one of his other victims. Now, let's talk about his trial. In 1980, Alcala was convicted of Samso's murder and sentenced to death. But you're not going to believe what happened next. His death sentence was overturned. Twice. It wasn't until 2010 that he was finally sentenced to death for the 3rd time. And get this, during his trial, he acted as his own attorney. The man literally cross-examined himself, asking himself questions and answering them in a different voice. It was bizarre, creepy, and totally surreal. But in the end, justice was served. But even after his conviction, authorities kept finding more evidence linking him to other murders. They think he could be responsible for up to 130 deaths. Imagine that 130 lives lost, and we may never know the full extent of his crimes. Alcala spent the rest of his life behind bars, dying of natural causes in 2021 at the age of 77. But his story still haunts us today, especially when we think about how close Cheryl Bradshaw came to becoming another one of his victims. Which brings us back to Anna Kendrick's new movie, Woman of the Hour. Now, if you're wondering, how do you turn a horrifying true story like this into a movie? Well, Kendrick did masterfully. The film revisits that eerie episode of the dating game, but it also dives deeper into the tension, the fear, and the close call that Cheryl Bradshaw experienced. It's a mix of drama, thriller, and true crime, exactly what fans like us love to dig into. This film is going to have you on the edge of your seat, and it's not just because of the story we know, it's because it makes you feel the fear, the danger that was hiding in plain sight. Kendrick's performance, paired with the chilling portrayal of Alcala, will make your skin crawl. And trust me, when it drops on October 18th, you do not want to miss it. So there you have it, the shocking true story behind the dating game killer and how Woman of the Hour is bringing it all back to light. It's a reminder that sometimes the scariest monsters aren't hiding in the shadows. They're right there in front of us, smiling for the camera. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned because we've got plenty more true crime stories coming your way. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.